Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's Michael Parrish, the Senior Vice President of Client Development here at Halo Therapy Solutions. So we've been getting a lot of buzz about our HaloRed O₂, and every now and then with that buzz, or within that buzz, we'll get questions about how the HaloRed O₂ is different than the HaloRed Legacy. So I just figured that what I would do is take a moment to pop on live on LinkedIn and just give a real quick overview of the history of how our HaloRed O₂ has developed over time and why we launched it a couple weeks ago. But it's going to take us all the way back to our original Vitality booth. So our Vitality booth, which ultimately became the HaloRed, served as the foundation and the blueprint for how we've advanced the HaloRed O₂ and the HaloRed Legacy. So let's go back to the Vitality booth. The Vitality booth, which we developed a number of years ago, was a mostly tempered glass booth, and we brought in what we at the time were calling dual spectrum light therapy. We had 660 and 830, 660 being a deep red wavelength. Deep red on the light therapy wavelength is a wavelength that sends photons into the skin. Usually it's going to be in the middle layers of skin and a little bit down closer toward the subcutaneous or the lower levels of the skin. And then 830 is near infrared, which is a fairly shallow near infrared wavelength. It creates a fair amount of heat. Very useful though. It gets onto the outer layers or the top layers of the musculature and the deep tissue, and it drives photons into the cells in that area of the body. And then we combine that with halo therapy. So we have our Halo GX Pro Halo generator. That's the model type, and we've configured it and engineered it for a full integration with what at the time was the Vitality booth. And those two together do some very special things. So the two wavelengths of red light, fully immersive with dry salt therapy being a modality, of course, that helps to clear the lungs and improve oxygen exchange. And what surprises people, halotherapy is a modality that can also provide a tremendous skin detox. So at that point in time, it was called the Vitality booth, and it became a great option to our Halo Sauna, which is the only 5 sensory breathe and detox suite. But, which is one of the things that we do as a company, we always seek out ways to advance our technology and move further down the, let's say, technologically, when we advance, we move the needle along the continuum. So we then said, all right, what would be better than two wavelengths of red light? And then we brought in a quad wavelength. And then we began to improve the Vitality booth. And then ultimately we named it from Vitality booth to the HaloRed. So the HaloRed Legacy and the HaloRed O₂ are our two units that we operate with now. So here are the differences in the two. The HaloRed Legacy has 4 wavelengths of red light. It uses the same halo generator. It's in a beautiful tempered glass booth. There's a 1-person, there's a 2-person, and there's a 3-person unit. And it's patented. The reason it's patented is because light, in this case, deep red and near infrared, again, 4 wavelengths, and currently 630 and 660, and we have 850 and 1050 on the near infrared spectrum. Those 4 wavelengths are fully immersive in the HaloRed Legacy. You have immersion left side, right side, and then depending on the size of the booth, on all 4 walls. If it's a 1-person unit, you have LED diode coverage left side, right side, and rear, and there's nothing above you. But here's where this full immersion experience takes place, and here's why it's patented. The red light encounters billions of kinetically active therapeutic dry salt particles. Most of those particles are microscopic. The size of those microscopic particles are about 30 to 60 times smaller than one single pore in your skin. Why is that beneficial? Well, that's beneficial because even if you're passively breathing, that salt's going to work its way into all 5 chambers or lobes of your lungs. And what that salt does is it draws out moisture, it thins out mucus, it reduces inflammation, and in essence helps to open up your distal airways, which are the real tight passageways deep in your lungs, and that creates more surface area so that every time you and I breathe, which by the way is anywhere from 20 to 25,000 times a day, when that oxygen comes in, it gets more oxygen into the bloodstream because you have more surface area because you cleanse the lungs with halotherapy. And then the light actually refracts and scatters off of the salt. So what that light does is it creates additional angles when it encounters the salt. So instead of having just narrow beam angles encountering your skin as that light is being driven in, there's more of a blanket immersion that takes place, which means there's a more uniform delivery of the photons for your mitochondria to absorb, so that you have better immersion, better saturation, better absorption. That's why the HaloRed is patented. So that's all great. It's very exciting. Then here comes the HaloRed O₂. This is where this gets really exciting. So what did we do with the HaloRed O₂? So the HaloRed O₂ still has the 1-person, the 2-person, and the 3-person option. And the HaloRed O₂ uses the same halo generator that you see in this graphic in front of you. So you have the same high quality halotherapy experience, providing a respiratory cleanse and a skin detox. You have more immersion now, though, because we've added LED coverage above, so now you have immersion truly on a 360-degree basis. And that scattering and that refraction that causes that full blanketing of light is simply improved with additional diode coverage. But where it gets really exciting is we've now integrated a high capacity oxygen concentrator. So this is really the crux of what I wanted to talk about. What's so significant about the integration of the oxygen concentrator, and how does the oxygen concentrator work? What that oxygen concentrator does is it takes ambient air, and when you and I are just sitting here, so if you're watching this video, no matter where you are, if you're just relaxing and watching, as you're sitting there and you're breathing in, what you breathe in is 78% nitrogen, which is an inert gas, and about 21% oxygen. So that's what you breathe in. The other percent are other inert gases, some helium, some CO2, and some other gases. So again, 78% nitrogen, but 21% oxygen. It's the oxygen that our body uses. When nitrogen goes into our lungs, the sole purpose of the nitrogen is to make sure that there's volumetric ability to open the lungs up, which is pretty ingenious if you really think about it. But it's the oxygen that actually gets diffused into the bloodstream. And that's what we need, because oxygen is used as a reactant to convert glucose into ATP, and ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate, is what our cells need so that they have the energy that they need to run the cell with efficiency and sustainability. So what that oxygen concentrator does is it takes ambient air and ultimately it filters it in. That ambient air makes it into that oxygen concentrator, and there's an area within the concentrator which separates the nitrogen from the oxygen, and then it gets rid of the nitrogen and then allows that oxygen to be compressed and then pass through and into the HaloRed. So you're able to take an environment which would normally be an environment with ambient air that contains about 21% oxygen, and depending on which airflow setting you adjust the oxygen concentrator to, you can rise anywhere between 28 to 90% oxygen concentration, which is significant. So let's tie this all together. So when you have halotherapy, in essence, cleansing the respiratory system and enabling you to have more surface area in what's called the alveolar regions of your lungs, where you have oxygen making it down into your lungs that you breathe in. And then if you create more surface area for the alveoli to diffuse into the bloodstream, you're doing something significant, because again, oxygen is the reactant that our cells use to convert glucose to ATP. It's happening as you and I speak right now. When you do that while also driving photons, because that's what light therapy is, it's phototherapy. Light, consider it as the vehicle, and photons are the cargo. So depending on the wavelength of light, you're delivering photons into the cells. Those cells get dropped off in and absorbed by your mitochondria in your cells at the outer level of the skin, the inner level of the skin, the lower level, subcutaneous, and into your deep tissue. And with 1050, you have photons being delivered and absorbed into your cells, deep into the musculature, into the blood vessel areas of your body, so you have an even deeper penetration. So when that happens, what that light does, it does a number of things, but the light gets into the mitochondria and it knocks loose nitric oxide. Well, when you knock loose nitric oxide, you're now equipping the cells with a greater ability to take the oxygen that you're delivering in and receive and use greater levels of oxygen. But then the nitric oxide being kicked out of your mitochondria makes it into the bloodstream, and what does that do? That's a vasodilator. So it dilates the blood vessels, which improves circulation, which in turn allows you to get more oxygen in and around the body with more efficiency. So those three modalities, halotherapy, cleansing the lungs so that every breath is more efficient, more oxygen in, more CO2 out, along with light therapy, taking photons into the body, dropping those photons off so they can be absorbed and used by the mitochondria to create more ATP, again, more energy for the cells. Also kicking out nitric oxide, which allows your body to receive more oxygen and then open up your blood vessels for better vascularity and circulation. And when you do all that, well, you're in an environment where you have increases in oxygen concentration. You now have a wellness system that you'd be hard pressed to find anything in the marketplace that could deliver that trimodal benefit that the HaloRed can deliver. And then when you think in terms of the verticals and segment types that benefit from something like the HaloRed, which is no to low attendant need, you don't really need to babysit the unit, very low to no maintenance, because you only have to clean the halo generator at most once a week, which takes 3 minutes, and anybody can do that because that's very simple. And then when you think about the fact that salt kills bacteria, it kills virus, eliminates microbe activity, you don't have to babysit the unit. And so you can get people into the unit and out of the unit with an optimal session of 15 minutes. And if we're thinking in terms of a price point of about $45 for those 15 minutes in the HaloRed O₂, that difference between the HaloRed Legacy and the HaloRed O₂ is $2,000. If you have 10 customer uses a day and you have $45 per session versus the $35, that's an extra $100 a day. If you do that 6 days a week, that's $600. So in essence, you're at about 3.33 weeks to cover the gap between the cost of the Halo Legacy and the HaloRed O₂, and your return on investment over the course of a year is about 1,400%. Just for making that additional, let's say, upgrade to the HaloRed O₂. So hopefully this helps you. I've had a lot of people reaching out, asking me about the differences in the two units. Both of them are great. Both of them are patented, but the HaloRed O₂ is a significant jump in efficacy with respect to how you blend modalities to achieve greater benefit. And I always say, one modality is great, two are fantastic, but when you have three modalities that create the synergistic benefits that the HaloRed O₂ creates, well, now you're doing something special. And for those of you that are looking at and continuing to evaluate wellness modalities and equipment to see what you can bring in to differentiate yourself, you would certainly want to consider the HaloRed O₂ as top on the list. Look forward to talking to everybody soon. Have a great day.